Thank you. I just want to say that I'm all for a hydrogen fueling station, but I think the subject should be alternative fuels, and we shouldn't be sitting here talking about hydrogen fueling stations. We should be talking about the concept of alternative fuel stations, be it compressed natural gas, electric, hydrogen, or whatever it comes down the pike. I have heard from some other people who are aware of this subject where they thought that to focus on hydrogen was just wasn't the way to go. That we should talk about hydrogen, but we should also talk about
other fuels,
all the other alternative fuels. Even though Mr. Ginsburg has a hydrogen car.
Oh, is that?
No.
No, I know.
Commissioner Ginsburg.
And I fully agree with you that my focus here is alternative fuels and removing our need on foreign oil. And I was involved. The only reason that I even learned about all these programs was because I got involved with the electric vehicle neighborhood electric vehicle program in the Riviera Village that was offered by the state of California. It was not a hydrogen vehicle. That was a plug-in vehicle that operates 25 miles an hour, and it was a great program, and that's very good for neighborhood driving.
Is in a golf cart.
It's essentially a glorified golf cart, which is great for the neighborhood, and that's why it was the neighborhood electric vehicles. But for driving realistically how most of us do, freeways and longer distances, I realized that would not be really a serious alternative to a gasoline vehicle. I've got friends and family who drive the Volt, and I'm impressed by how that works. Although there are also limits with a charged vehicle like that as far as distance, and that's a great limitation as well. The reason that I was particularly impressed by the fuel cell vehicle, which is run by hydrogen, is because it is an electric vehicle. The only emission is water, and you can get the same distance on a charge of hydrogen as you can in a gasoline vehicle. So that's why I'm particular about it. But I love the idea of electric vehicles, whether they're plug-in. Natural gas, I don't think, is the same as hydrogen, but certainly a lot better than gasoline. And I support all the alternative vehicles just to make it official. But these guys are here for hydrogen, and so love to hear from you guys.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Hamilton, and my title is Safety and Education Specialist with the California Fuel Cell Partnership. This is Keith Malone, and I don't know your title, Keith.
Communications Specialist.
Communications Specialist. I'm actually out of Sacramento, California. That's where our headquarter office is. Keith and another colleague of ours, Jordan, are based in Southern California. Jordan's our Southern California coordinator. And to your point, yes, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are a part of our portfolio that all of our automaker members are working on. So while they're working on fuel cells, they're also working on, GM has the Volt and Nissan has the Leaf and Toyota has the Prius, but they're all doing fuel cells as well. And to your comment, fuel cell vehicles can be a primary family vehicle because you can fuel it and get the range that you expect to get from a gasoline car. So it's a choice. We concentrate on hydrogen fuel cell vehicles because we are the Fuel Cell Partnership. A little history, we're born out of the state legislation that is driving the mandate for automakers to put zero-emission vehicles on the road. A zero-emission vehicle is a hydrogen fuel cell car and a plug-in electric. So the stations that you're seeing coming online are being partially funded by the state of California through AB 118 funds. And this area in general is a very high priority for the automakers to get vehicles into the hands of customers like yourself. And we are moving from research and development into commercialization. So developing these early clusters of markets for customers and moving those out into what we call primarily cluster stations in the beginning, then destinations, and then connectors so people can take the trips and so forth. But we're starting with those clusters, and this certainly is an area where a cluster is a priority for our automakers. So I train firefighters, and I'm down here from Sacramento because I was in Santa Monica training the Santa Monica Fire Department about hydrogen and fuel cells and the stations and how the cars work and their response to them, which is essentially that it's a car. But people tend to have a little bit of preconceived notions about hydrogen, so we work to dispel those and get them more comfortable. And as part of the work that we all do, through our station implementation project and our hydrogen readiness project, we go out to communities and do exactly this kind of thing, whether it be emergency responder training, it be information for permitting officials for a station, it be community outreach events. We're going to be at the Santa Monica Alt Car Expo for, we've done it for years now. So we definitely work to get these high priority communities ready to have hydrogen and fuel cell vehicles.
Why don't you tell us about a hydrogen fueling station?
Um,
What is it? What does it look like? What does it do?
Right. So if you want to take a look at some, there are some that are fairly close. There's one opening very soon in Harbor City. There's, let's see, I'm drawing a blank. There's another.
Hermosa Beach that'll be coming.
Hermosa Beach is going to be coming. Anyway, they have historically been, again, in the research field, Santa Monica's had a station at their city yard for years as part of a research and development project. What we're seeing now with the stations that are funded by the state are more what we would call public. And that means that they're not behind a fence. They are not limited in their capacity for how many vehicles they can fuel a day. They are accessible to all of the automakers' customers, so they're not fleet-built stations and only accessible to one or two types of vehicles or brands of vehicles. And that the customer has an experience that is similar, if not the same, as fueling with gasoline. And they happen to, many of them, be placed at existing gasoline stations for reasons like footprint, zoning, that you're already dispensing fuel. It makes some of the permitting issues easier.
A regular gas station could also sell hydrogen.
Yeah, they can't sell it yet. That's one thing we're working on with the Division of Measurement Standards with the state. But yes, they can put in the hydrogen storage and compression equipment and a dispenser at an existing gasoline station. And one thing that I like to point out, especially the firefighters, these fuel cell vehicles are extremely efficient, so we don't have to put a lot of energy on board the cars. As Mr. Ginsburg pointed out, you can get comparable range to a conventional gasoline vehicle with the equivalent of anywhere from 4 to 6 gallons of energy. We talk about hydrogen in kilograms, but 4 to 6 gallons equivalent of energy, you can get comparable range. So for a fueling station, you put relatively a small amount of additional energy at a gas station that's already existing in the form of hydrogen. I was shocked to learn from Shell Hydrogen that a large fuel station can store 50,000 gallons of fuel under the ground, and you just don't see it. All of the hydrogen storage is above grade. It's can be in the form of liquid as well as gaseous storage, and it is at pressure. But again, that's above grade. And another nice thing is if there was something catastrophic, we can vent all of the contents of the hydrogen to atmosphere, and it's not detrimental to the environment. So we're only having to add at a large throughput station, something that we're talking about maybe in the 2016-17 timeframe, 500 to 1,000 kilograms or 500 to 1,000 gallons equivalent in energy of gasoline to a station that already has a whole bunch of energy already there stored. So we're not adding a whole lot more in terms of the potential energy.
Hydrogen expensive?
Well, we can't. It's an industrial commodity right now.
Well, hold on. Don't you put it in your car?
There's no cost for it right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the people that lease the vehicles
I'm all for
now.
this hydrogen fuel.
We'll have to pay for it eventually, but yeah, the folks that lease the vehicles now, the hydrogen, the cost for the fuel is somehow incorporated into the lease cost, or it's a kind of a behind the scenes transaction.
Yeah, it's included in the lease payment.
It's included, they roll it up in the lease payment.
Yeah, it's included, yeah.
Well, let's say somebody didn't have it in their lease payment.
Well,
What if
it's not
hydrogen
legal
fuel?
yet for you and I to purchase it per unit, per kilogram, because of, again, that measurement standards. They're working to certify the dispensing equipment so that they can put that seal on it like you have at a gas pump that says a gallon is a gallon. They have to be able to certify the metering equipment for hydrogen to ensure that a kilogram is a kilogram. And there are some challenges around that because of the tolerances that, anyway. So we're working on that. It's one of the many things we're working on for.
Yeah, 190, yeah.
Another one that's a fairly new station that you could go look at is Newport Beach. It's at an existing Shell gasoline station right on the corner of
Just come up and fill it.
Jamboree and right across from Fashion Island. And it's really interesting because Shell has 3 fuel stations. One in Torrance that's actually off of Air Products pipeline, hydrogen pipeline that they already have for refineries. One at the Newport Beach, and then the one in West LA on Santa Monica and Federal. And the Newport Beach one, they've had to actually put signs at the end on either side of the island saying fuel cell cars only, because people with regular gas cars drive up and then they're perplexed why they can't use this nozzle to put gasoline in their car. But it's kind of a positive thing for us because we actually have to point out, no, this is for hydrogen. So it's a nice new station to go look at.
We take questions?
Just a curiosity question. Is there an industry standard connector for the car? So
Yes,
that all
SAE
cars,
J2600.
Any brand of car will be able to.
Yeah,
hook up
they're
and-
all of the nozzles and receptacles are designed to the Society or SAE International, formerly Society of Automotive Engineers specs. There's also testing for that. And there are 2 pressures that the vehicles hold fuel at currently, 5,000 or 10,000 PSI. And so the geometry between those 2 nozzles is actually different so that you cannot physically attach the high pressure nozzle to the lower pressure receptacle.
That seems high pressure,
Doesn't
isn't
it?
it?
I thought
That's
so,
high
too.
pressure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10,000 PSI?
So it doesn't take forever to fuel.
No, in fact, the technical information report out of SA International right now, which is working on moving to a standard, calls for delivery of up to 7 kilograms of fuel for light duty at the 10,000 PSI in 3 minutes. So they're likening it to the gasoline fill, so that they have the customers again have the experience that they are used to from gasoline.
Commissioner Ginsburg.
Yeah, just so everyone understands, one of the reasons I asked these guys to come here today is because almost accidentally I learned that these fueling stations are difficult to get installed because the cities and things don't understand it, and need that type of information to support it. And what happens a lot of times is there's a station owner, or I can't say a lot of times, there's not a lot of stations, but the one in Harbor City, my understanding is the station owner wanted to have it there, and they were working on all that thing before getting the city approval. And my whole thing on this is I think that this is the future. I think that Redondo Beach is a natural for this, and what I thought would make a lot of sense is instead of them approaching a fueling station, that the city actually get all the information and hopefully support a fueling station to make their job a lot easier for this down the road. So that's why I thought that this was the appropriate way to go about it. It's very, very new. And contrary to anyone, I have no stock in hydrogen. It's all I care about is alternative fuels. I think hydrogen is a great direction to go in, and so that's why they're here. And so anyhow, I just want to put all the cards out on the table.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
Yeah. Can you speak to the significance of 2015 as far as the progress of clusters, as well as different automakers, the initiative to get them involved in producing hydrogen vehicles by 2015.
Sure. So I think Jordan sent you some literature from us, including our roadmap document. That's maybe what you're referring to.
And I
Yeah.
think that went out to everyone.
Yeah. So our job now is to implement that roadmap and get those clusters built. The state of California has set certain targets for the automakers, again, to have specific numbers of or ranges of numbers of vehicles on the road in certain time frames. And in order to do that, an auto company has to have about 3 years in advance to plan for their sales and their marketing and so forth. A few of them, most of them have said that 2015 is the general time frame of when they're going to start selling these cars in order to meet those targets set by the state, which according to surveys, and the surveys in the roadmap document, between 2015 and 2017, we'll see in the tens of thousands of vehicles, upwards of 50,000 potentially, assuming we have the infrastructure. So getting that infrastructure in is key. But yeah, and there was just a press release 2 days ago that Toyota specifically confirmed that 2015 is when they're going to be selling.
Of the 68 stations that they're aiming for in the cluster, are we at 31 or 32, or where are we at?
Right now, we're at 8 public stations.
8 public.
The Energy Commission there are about, 10 or 11 in the planning phases.
Okay.
So that Harbor City station is one that has been funded that's due to open any day. And the Energy Commission is currently writing a solicitation for almost $30 million, which we expect will be another 16 to 18 stations.
Okay.
Beyond that, we need to figure out, the roadmap has identified that $65 million in addition to the monies that the state has already put forward that's going to be needed to reach that 68. And the 68 stations is a number that the automakers have determined is what they need to break that barrier of moving into commercialization.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense.
Commissioner, who was first? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a comment and a question. Seems like somebody's got to break the catch-22 of stations and cars, because nobody's going to want to buy a hydrogen
Chicken
car
and
if
egg,
there's
that's
no
what it's always been,
stations,
yep.
and if there's a bunch of stations and so on. The question's for Commissioner Ginsburg. What is it that you would like the commission to do here?
I would like us to
A recommendation,
refer,
or-
yes, to the city council that they become informed about why a hydrogen station would be beneficial for the city, and hopefully support efforts in bringing one to the city, because I have, now that I've learned all that I have a pretty high degree of confidence that if the city were to accept this new technology, that the funding would be there for it. Essentially, there'd be no cost for the city, but the huge advantages for people that want alternative vehicles that operate on hydrogen, and why not us be a city that has that, and be another positive icon for the city.
So would you envision it would be like a
Keep up with our mouse.
publicly owned hydrogen station?
I don't know how are they owned usually? Like Harbor City, who owns that, and how's that?
So Harbor City is a Chevron station that's privately owned, and that's the case with the majority, if not all, of the gas stations, at least on the West Coast. The big oils don't own them anymore; they're all franchised. And so a gentleman with the last name Mebtahi owns that Chevron station. He met with Air Products and Chemicals Industrial Gas Company, who's the equipment supplier and will be the fuel supplier. And Air Products applied for the funding from the state. They got the funding. They work with the station owner, and they basically have an agreement amongst them for, the station owner to purchase the equipment and own and operate the station. It's not Chevron branded fuel. It's just going to be hydrogen, and then the gasoline is still Chevron. So it's a partnership of sorts, or an agreement with an equipment provider and a station owner.
So I think what the issue isn't, there's not going to be a City of Redondo Beach hydrogen fueling station.
No, that's.
So you're asking the city to get a leg up on this?
Yes.
So that when an independent guy at a gas station wants to put in hydrogen, we're not starting from ground zero.
Right, and that they're welcomed with open arms as opposed to it being a roadblock kind of
Right,
thing.
and
Oh, okay, yeah.
let me just say that that would be a fantastic model moving forward. I mean, the city of Redondo Beach would be a real leader in this by being proactive and saying, yes, this is what we want. The automakers, again, as I stated, this is a high priority area in general, and so you'd have definitely support from the automakers for to the state to fund a project here, and that would just be, we're always looking for champions, and you, sir, are certainly a champion, and the city could be a champion.
The funding would relate to the physical
The funding is
pump and the storage and the
yes,
whatever.
Yeah, the funding is for
And the liability insurance, so when those 10,000 pounds go off.
Well, again, the beauty.
I could give you my whole spiel, but I won't do that right
How
now.
does hydrogen get to the gas station?
So
Tank truck?
it can be delivered as a liquid in a tank truck. It can be delivered in a tube trailer as a gas. It can be delivered via pipeline, or you can make it on site using a steam methane reformer, which is how they do it in industry predominantly, or you can make it using an electrolyzer. So there are a number of ways to do a station, and that does present some challenges for permitters, because not only is this hydrogen something they haven't really seen before, but then it's all this weird equipment and on-site high-pressure storage and compressors and what's going on. So, yeah, we work with them on that. And the other challenge is that in the standards development world, these are still developing as well. So everything's kind of rolling along. Hopefully,
I think that
concert.
Commissioner Ginsburg's idea is to get our city on the forefront of this, to moving it forward is a good idea. I do. I think it makes a lot of sense.
And I'm also here at the request of one of our members who Mr. Ginsburg leases a car from, Mercedes-Benz. They're one of the two automakers that are leasing vehicles right now to customers. Honda's the other. They actually have leases. So.
Well, I don't know much about fuel cells, but I was interested in natural gas, and Ford is coming out with, or has out now, a Ford F-150 from the factory that's natural gas. And I got the specs on it, and I'll tell you, I'd be scared to death. That thing has got more tanks on it. I mean, the whole underneath the bed of the truck is a giant compressed natural gas tank.
Hydrogen's a little bit different.
Oh my God.
Well, if you guys are interested, I got permission to park the vehicle out in the front. So after our meeting, we can go out there if you want to see it and take it for a
What
drive.
you're telling us, Ginsburg, is you got a Mercedes-Benz
bring
fuel
it back
cell.
tomorrow.
You don't pay for the fuel. You're able to park it wherever you want to. What in the world?
Except when they're street sweeping.
Except for street sweeping, yeah.
If it's designated.
Man, this is a sweet deal. Maybe I should have stayed on this commission. Well,
Yeah,
I think,
so-
I would simply say, we should refer to the letter to the city council to put it to strategic planning and get going.
Yeah, and we're here too to say that we are a resource, and please use us as such. So we can offer, whatever you need. Come do as many city council meetings and support you, or public outreach.
Just out of curiosity, is there an anti-hydrogen group out there someplace?
You have. So when you talked about an all alternative fuel portfolio, that's actually something that the federal administration is adopting, an all. What's the term they're using? An all of the above approach. And we are, the LAX station, for example, is hydrogen at a natural gas fueling station. So it's not to say they have to be at gas stations. That's just kind of how it's happened. And, I think we'd definitely entertain the notion of various alternative fuels at one station, permitting allowed and whatnot. You tend to get folks in different camps that have their reasons for liking one alt fuel over another.
But nobody that's there's not an anti-hydrogen.
Yeah, it's usually, well, it takes too much energy to make it, or, and it's like, well, actually, let me give you some facts, and hydrogen actually has a great synergy with other technologies as well. It's a good storage medium for energy with like wind and solar and things like that. So there's actually a lot of potential, and where we'd like to say it's a silver bullet, we can't, and we don't, because our members work on other technologies. So, yeah.
That's great. I just had a question. And granted, I think by the time we received all of this information, I was able to breeze through some of it. I will take the time to read more thoroughly because it's very interesting. But I was curious, is there a way to convert a car, just a regular car, to use hydrogen fuel? Is there some conversion? that
You can put hydrogen into internal combustion, but I'll tell you that the stations that are being built are, there's technology that's being worked out for the cars to identify an OEM original vehicle, because we don't need an incident of somebody doing a garage conversion, whether it be internal combustion or whatever, and then pulling up to a station trying to fuel with high pressure and having there be an incident. So is there a way to convert an internal combustion engine to a fuel cell? No, because there's an entirely different system in there.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can put hydrogen into internal
Fuel
combustion.
cell, electric, just an electric car?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fuel cell generates the electricity.
Right.
Yeah, in real time. So, yeah, when people think electric vehicle, they tend to think something like a Leaf or a plug-in, and when people think hybrid, they think a Prius, but it's both. So,
Terrific. So do you want to formulate our motion?
Yeah, how do we?
and
do
we'd be
it?
happy to come back too for any meetings that you want to
Well,
support.
assuming,
us.
assuming the city council, goes along with it, then there would be a city council meeting somewhere down the road, and,
Sure.
I'd certainly let you know about that. But, really what I want to do is make a motion that a letter goes to the city council recommending that at their next strategic planning meeting that the issue of building a hydrogen fuel station is in that agenda. Is that a good way to word it?
Who's going to write the
will
letter?
Commissioner Ginsburg and the chair draft the letter and write it up and present it to the mayor and city council?
Okay, and maybe you guys can help me with that?
Sure. And
Probably
we'd
be
also
good.
be able to help with, making the right connections. If you find a station owner that says, yes, I want to do it, we
Right.
can get them in touch with the right people and help with that, so.
Well, that's my motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
I think I'm going to abstain on this one. I'm a skeptic.
Go outside and drive it, you'll like it.
What?
A skeptic.
Skeptic. Yes.
Oh,
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Uh-huh.